Hello again, and welcome to the video all about the smart filter system within the BTC Stats Pro software. This feature is the most powerful aspect of the software by far, and I think you guys are going to love it. So, as traders, we know how much time you guys spend trawling through stats, trying to find qualifiers for your strategies, trying to find angles to make money in the markets. It can be one of the most mundane aspects of any trader's life, and I've always personally looked for ways to cut that time down so I can basically spend more time actively trading. Well, this feature was born out of our own collective experience in trading, as well as the amazing feedback we received on the forum after we published the old version of the stats around October 2015, as well as a brilliant group of beta testers who really put this software through its paces over the last couple of months. And I'd like to publicly say a big thank you actually to Richard Latimer, John Folan and Andrew Walker for devoting their time to make this a better product. So basically it's been designed by traders for traders, and I think you're going to love it. Essentially what it allows you to do is query our massive database of stats with lightning fast speed to get all the information you want without having to click through every fixture in the fixture list. I think the best way to explain what it does is by showing you a few examples. So let's start with a really simple one. Let's say we're interested in matches where there's going to be at least one goal. So we'll say show me matches where the full-time 0-0 percentage is less than 10. So we start by selecting a stat subject, which is always either home, away or overall, and that corresponds to the three tables that you see for every stat focus area here. So I'll choose overall in this case, and now we pick a stat type, which is either totals, percentages, averages or odds, and that corresponds to the four stat type options here at the top. And we said we were interested in the percentage of 0-0s, so I'll pick percentage. Now that we've told it our general kind of focus area, it'll give us all the overall percentage stats that we can possibly query. And we've narrowed it down quite a bit already, but there's still quite a few in there, so we can actually search for exactly what we want in the search box. So let's put 0-0 in there, and we get half-time or full-time 0-0s, so I'll select full-time. So we've started building our stat now, and it's displayed on the screen right there. Now what we need to do is compare our stat to something. So we said we wanted less than 10% of 0-0s, so I'll select less than from the box here. And then I'll enter the value in the text field. As you probably saw, you've got all sorts of options for operators there. You can select less than, greater than, equal to, and so on and so on. So I'm happy with less than 10. I'll click add to add that filter to my criteria list. If I've made a mistake or I just want to refine the criteria a bit, I can go back and change some aspect of it and click update to save the changes. So I'll just change that back to 10. Now, I can restrict the query to specific leagues if I want to. For example, if you're only interested in the Premiership, you can select it from this drop down. And because there are 200 odd leagues in the system, you can search for it by name as well, just to make things a bit easier. If you only want English leagues, you can search by country as well, not just league name, and then select all the ones you want. And finally, I've got some date restriction options. So I can look for matches happening today, tomorrow, any time up to 5 days, or specific dates. If I've made a complete mess and I just want to start again, I can click clear and all these fields get reset. I'm quite happy with this filter though, but I'm not going to save it just yet. Let's just click apply, which will run the query and hopefully give us some results. So instantly the results get displayed, and the panel has expanded, as you can see, just to show us a bit more info on the screen at one time. And you've got various details about the match here, match name, time, country, league, etc. And depending on how many criteria your filter had, and I'll go through adding additional ones in another example, but you'll also have these criteria columns at the start of the table which show you the values for the stats that you're querying. You can hover over the header to show which stats make up that filter in case you've forgotten what you kind of selected, or you selected a lot and you're not sure which is which. And you can click any column header to sort by that column. There's a couple of different ways to display the values in these columns as well. So right now, down here I've got stat value selected, which literally tells me the value of the stat that I'm querying. So in this case we're looking for full-time 0-0s less than 10. So this column is telling me the percentage of full-time 0-0s from the last 10 games for both teams. So this top one here has 9% overall full-time nil-nils. There's actually quite a few that have 0 by the look of it. So out of up to the last 10 matches for both teams, it could be up to 20 matches in total, remember, but it's, equally it could be less than 10. So it's worth kind of delving into them a bit deeper just in case. But there's quite a few matches here which have got absolutely no nil-nils out of all their recent games, which in my mind instantly makes those matches prime candidates of any number of trading strategies, really. You could certainly lay the draw if you had a couple of similarly priced teams, for example, or lay the nil-nil scoreline at half-time if there hadn't been any goals by then and it's looking like quite a lively game in terms of shots and attacks and stuff. If I select difference down here, instead of stat value, the figure on the top one changes to -1. That is because the percentage of nil-nils in that match is 9, and we were comparing to 10 because we put less than 10, and obviously 9 is 10 minus 1. Ratio is similar, but it gives the source stat as a proportion of the compare stat. So in this case, it's 9 is 0.9 times 10, or another way of looking at it would be 9 is 90% of 10. So it's just personal preference, really, in terms of how you like the strength of your stats to be displayed. It can be particularly useful to use those other options because often you'll get more than one result for a filter, and especially if you're comparing the home stats with the away stats, for example, you might be looking for matches where the home shots are greater than the away shots. And the system will give you all those qualifiers, and then you can look at the difference or the ratio to see how far above or below one was compared to the other. And I'll give a more in-depth example of that in a second. Clicking on any of these results, by the way, takes you straight to that match as well, so you can look at other stats for that match if you want to. So at this point, if I want to save that filter, then I'll just give it a name and click Save. That then takes me to the My Qualifiers tab, which looks similar to the results page we were already on, but also has a drop down of all my saved filters. So you can pick from all your saved ones and it'll instantly show you the results for those filters that you've already built in the past. So as soon as I log on now, I can go to this tab and it's going to give me all my qualifiers for every filter every day. And by the way, if I selected any date restrictions in that previous box on the filter composer, they all dynamically update every day. So for example, tomorrow as a date restriction is relevant to whenever the query is run, not just when it was created. So it's updating every day. The only thing that doesn't do that is if you select a specific date in the date restriction box, like 22nd of April. So just be aware of that when you're saving filters. So let's run through a couple of other examples, because you've seen how simple a filter can be. Let's try a slightly more complex one. We'll refine our previous filter, so we're still kind of interested in full-time nil-nils being quite low. But let's say we like to lay the draw at half-time. So what we really want is matches which have a very low percentage of full-time nil-nils, but also where most of the goals that did happen in those matches were scored in the second half. So I can go back and start again if I want, but because I've saved this filter and I know that I simply want to kind of expand on it, I'm just going to click Edit, which loads all the filter criteria into the composer. So we've got our basic full-time nil-nil percentage in there already, so let's just add another criterion to that list. Our second one doesn't involve full-time nil-nil, so I'll just deselect that. And instead I'll select goals scored in second half. So what are we thinking for this? We'll say greater than 75%. We might get a few hits. So I'll just click Add, and you can see that it's added that criteria to the list. And what that means in terms of when the query actually runs is that it's going to look for matches that fulfill all of the criteria in this list. And you can have pretty much as many as you want. There is actually a limit of 20, but I would suggest that if you've got that many criteria, you're probably not going to see many results anyway. So now, with that information, you now know how to chain filter criteria together. So remember, we decided to edit that previous filter just a second ago, so I can either now save over the original one just by clicking Save, or I can click Save New, and it'll save it as a brand new filter and leave the other one in place. I'm just going to replace the existing one because all we've done is refined it slightly. I can edit the filter name if I want to, but I'll just leave it as it is. So let's see what results we get for this filter. When I click the button, it'll display them, and we've got a grand total of 2. But still, we've got a match here with no full-time nil-nils whatsoever, and 88% of all goals were scored in the second half. So that's actually a pretty strong stat based on the criteria we chose and what we wanted to use it for. So if that match is still 0-0 at half-time, you could probably lay the draw very cheaply, probably at a price of around evens. In reality, we know it's very likely that there will be a goal, much more likely than that. And so if you lay the draw at half-time, when a goal goes in, because it's fairly late in the game, you'll be sitting on a pretty nice profit when you hedge. If you wanted to relax it a bit to provide more qualifiers, we can just edit again and change the percentage to, say, 65%. So if I save that again, it'll rerun it automatically, and I'm guessing we'll have a few more results. Yep. If I just want to get rid of that second criteria altogether, I can just click the little X by the name and it disappears. And once again, if I like this filter, I can just save it, and then I'll see the latest results every day for that filter. So far we've been comparing to absolute numbers. We've had full-time nil-nils less than 10%. We've had second half goals greater than 65 or 75%. What if we want to compare the home team to the away team, or even to the league? Not a problem. Let's find matches where the home shots are greater than the away shots. Let's go back. This time I'll just start from the beginning because it's quite a different build of stats. We'll select home as the subject, totals as the stat type, and shots for, let's go for goal attempts, because that kind of encompasses all kinds of shots as the stat. Select our operator, greater than, and this time we get the option to compare to the opposition. So if you're looking at the home team as the source stat, it's obviously going to compare to the away team and vice versa. The reason you haven't seen this option before, up to now, is because it's clever enough to know when it would be pointless to compare a figure to another subject like the opposition or the league. If you think about it, up until now we've been looking at things like, we've been looking at the overall stats, and it's kind of pointless saying, show me matches where total nil-nils is greater than away nil-nils, because of course it's going to be at least the same or higher, as the overall stats are a combination of the home and away. With the percentages, if you try and compare an overall to an away, you're kind of comparing the same stat twice in a way, because the away stats make up part of the overall stats. Likewise, there's never going to be a situation where the overall nil-nils for one match is higher than the number of nil-nils for the league. So different options appear as you select different things here to help you get meaningful information. What you can also do here is select a multiplier. So if you want the home team shots to be at least twice the away team shots, you could select either multiplied by and then 2, or you could just select double in the multiplier drop down. It's kind of a short code, if you like, for times 2. I'm going to leave that bit out for the purposes of this though. So now that we're happy with our new criterion, let's add it. We'll stick to just one this time, keep it a little bit simpler. Click apply, and as expected, probably we get quite a few matches. At the moment, in this column, we're seeing the number of home goal attempts for. Our filter was home attempts greater than away attempts, so presumably the greater the difference between home and away, the better for whatever angle we're currently pursuing. So I can change the view now and see the difference or the ratio, like we did before, depending on how I like to see my information, just personal preference. But we can see that this here is the top match in terms of difference between home and away goal attempts. So that's the one we might want to look at a bit more closely, I would say. And as before, I can save the filter if I like it. If I no longer require a filter, by the way, I can just click delete here and it gets erased from the system completely. I think you guys are probably getting the hang of this now, but there's just one more example that I want to show you, just a slightly different approach. Let's say we want to create some kind of home supremacy measure kind of thing. And I'm going to define that as home goal attempts per goal plus away goal attempts against per goal less than the opposition. So I select my stat subject, which to begin with is home. I'll select averages as the stat type, and then I'll find goal attempts for per goal in the list. So I've added that to the stat builder. Now I can go back to the stat subject again and select away this time, averages again, and then goal attempts against per goal. Now when I select that, it goes straight into the list, and I've effectively now created my own stat, which is home goal attempts for per goal, plus away goal attempts against per goal. If you think about it, the goal attempts per goal is kind of an accuracy measure. The less shots they have per goal, the more accurate they've been with the attempts they've had. So now we can carry on and select our operator, which in this case is less than. I'll select opposition as the comparison. Now, obviously, I've already got a mixture of home and away stats in my source stat. So what this will basically do is invert that. So it's going to look for matches where, now bear with me here, home goal attempts for per goal plus away goal attempts against per goal is less than away goal attempts for per goal plus home goal attempts against per goal. Bit of a contrived example, I grant you, but the point is, you can chain as many stats together as you want. It emphasises the complete flexibility of the software, basically. You can effectively create your own metrics with this, whatever you want to see. So let's run it and see what comes up. We've got a few hits there, and if I then change the data view, I can see just how much of an advantage the home team has. So just another angle there for you to look at. Well, that's about it. It's a pretty in-depth look at the BTC smart filters. I think you'll agree it's a pretty powerful addition to the portfolio. I know a lot of you stats guys are going to make brilliant use of it and make pots of cash. So best of luck to you. Enjoy it. Experiment with it. Let us know what you find. And by all means, if you think something's missing, there's a feature you want in there, or you think there's a problem with it, or even if you just want to leave a comment and say, yeah, looks great, then by all means head over to the stats thread on the Facebook forum and leave your comment there. The software was developed by and for you guys, and as such, I'm sure it'll evolve over time, and I really look forward to seeing what the power of the group can come up with. So good luck and happy trading.